I'm really pleased to announce that Delon and Orlagh are going to be presenting next. These are, for anyone who doesn't know, these are Bloomsbury Institute students who are now lecturing with us. And this is their first time presenting at a Teaching and Learning Forum, so let's give them a big round of applause.
Thank you. As Tom said, this is our first time, so please be easy on us. So we've done a joint research project, so we'll try and somehow jointly present it here. So we're talking about how to promote positive changes to the identity of higher education. And to do this, we need to look at the examination of diversity that are within institutes and how we can use that to work towards a better future. So might be a bit depressing at the start with some of the statistics, but I promise we're getting to the positive changes. So we want to start with this quote from Martin Luther King Jr., that you must discover what you are made for, and you must work to achieve excellence in your field of endeavour. If you are called to be a street sweeper, you should sweep streets even as Michelangelo painted or Beethoven composed music. So find what you're good at, a bit like what was said earlier, that, you know, with law, for example, if you really love it, go for it. So even if that is street sweeping, be proud in what you are doing. And in that, so I'm not just going to read off slides again, as we heard earlier, slides don't always work. So basically what we're talking about is that higher education is seen as one of the best indicators for a better life and for a successful life. However, getting a higher education isn't really available to everyone when you actually look at it. There are some issues, so that is what we are talking about. So if we look at some of the data and statistics, in 2017, 95% of students were white, and only 12.3% of white British students attended the most diverse universities. In a 2017 study, 4/5 of students from England and Wales that were accepted at Oxbridge between 2010 and 2015 had parents who occupied top professional and managerial roles. And London and the southeast of England received 48% of offers from both Oxford and Cambridge. As we know, these top managerial roles, these top professional roles are centred around London and the southeast. So how can we work to make it more inclusive, to get the whole country involved? In 2010 to 2015, some of the most successful applicants came from the city of London, Richmond, Camden, Islington, Haringey. Again, all in London. How can we make it more inclusive? So, between 2013 and 2014, between 2013 2014 and 2016 to 17, 82% of white graduates had the highest proportion of degree outcomes, gaining a first or upper second class. 72% of Asian graduates gained a first or upper second class degree, and black graduates stood at only 60%. As we did hear earlier, there is a big attainment gap for black students. 66% of all other ethnic group graduates are entering highly skilled employment or further studies, compared to 78% of white students who gained the highest employment rate. This figure shows that black graduates are least represented in workforce in the UK, and between 2004 and 19, this only went down by 5%. And while figures do show that ethnic minorities are 47% more likely to be on 0-hour contracts. So, yes, maybe they're getting employed more, but 0-hour contracts when you've gone to university to study a degree isn't really what your desired outcome is.
So, for universities to actually breach a gap with attainment, Baroness Valerie Amos believes that universities must demonstrate that they're willing to commit to eliminate the attainment gap. And a report concluded by the University UK and the National Union for Students to tackle disparities between black and ethnic minorities and white, they came up with 5 steps. So the 5 steps are providing strong leadership skills, having conversation about race and the changing cultures, developing racial diversity and inclusion in the environment, getting the evidence and analyzing the data on the attainment gaps and understanding what works. And this actually is very important because with leaderships, you do need to have a diverse and able to have conversation about race in institutions, not just trying to sweep it under the carpet. So in terms of David Lammy, and we all know who David Lammy is, the famous MP for Tottenham, he found that Oxbridge was moving backwards. The Oxbridge universities are all moving backwards, revealed that 10 out of 32 colleges, sorry, we have colleges, it should be colleges, sorry about that, and 6 out of 29 from Cambridge did not admit a single black A-level pupil. He's actually saying that this is social apartheid, which, if you look at it, is that these institutions should be accepting people based on their credibility and their education certification. And if you look at it, they have the smallest proportion of BAME students, with less than 10% of the population being black. If you look at this chart, you can see that over 70% accepted at the Russell Group universities are white students. Less than 20% Asian, less than 10% others, and less than 5% is black. So the OFS has acknowledged there is a problem and there's significant work that must be done to tackle racial inequalities in universities. Because BAME students only make up 20% of those in Russell groups, while students comprise of 20% in the whole UK population.
So, where do these problems start? We need to go to the root. So many state schools are just not prepared for the task of preparing their students for these prestige universities. State schools that are underfunded, all their teachers' time is going to be on preparing classes. That's it. They don't really have any dedicated university counsellors or help. For example, one Oxford University student recalled just how unprepared she felt for her interview because in the state schools it just was not talked about. So, as I said, most schools just do not have the time or funding to provide their students with university preparation because they're dedicated to class, the preparation of classes. And in many careers conferences, they're just full of private school teachers who do have the time and do have the funds to dedicate resources to university preparation. So only 90% of state schools get notably less offers. For example, offers from Cambridge once every 4 years and Oxford once every 5 years. So, some suggestions and recommendations. I know we're going quite quick, we're a bit behind for time, so I'm sorry for it that we're rushing through this. So, less than 1% of the adult population have graduated from Oxford or Cambridge. However, these institutions have produced most of the prime ministers, senior judges, civil servants, and many of those in media. And to tie back what was said earlier, just because they've got this Oxford or Cambridge named education doesn't mean that they are more qualified. So we need to be employing people not based on their university, but based on their accreditations.
And even David Lammy, he has called for a centralized system whereby people are recruited based on merit rather than where they study. Because at the end of the day, we're all getting the same, for example, a law degree, which the same modules that must be studied here at Bloomsbury must also be studied at Cambridge and Oxford. So there's no difference with the education system. It's just that society says that we should have these rich, famous people in these positions.
So there's now also schemes that exist to assist in accessing widening participation. So current students, prospective students, or former students, they can all go onto these forums. So there's things like Inside Uni, UniRise, the Access program inside Uni. There's also things like the Student Room. So just so that you can get the student experience and the student voice heard, not just what the advertising of the university is showing you, and again, what to expect.
And to actually close the attainment gap, universities should require to implement initiative and approach.
Sorry.
Sorry. to actually tackle racial inequalities. This can be by collaborating with Advanced HE Racial Equality Charter, whereby they actually have a department that deals with investigate all these hate crimes on campuses. So that would actually work if the universities do collaborate with Advanced HE.
Additionally, there's been documentaries such as Is Uni Racist on the BBC, and conferences like this where we can talk about identity, talk about who we want to be, can hopefully promote that positive change that we want to see.
And a lot of institutions need to start speaking about the problem we're facing, the racial inequalities, as Orlagh just said, sorry, I'm just my throat. So basically what they're saying is that we as educators need to start speaking about the racial inequalities and focusing on what the problem is to tackle it before it gets further. Yeah?
So this is all from our working paper that we're working on. It's in the process of being published, but if anyone wants to read a rough draft, we do have it available. And our next slide is any questions, but I'm not sure if we have time. Yeah? Yeah? Are there any questions? Yeah?
Right, one moment. Get the microphone.
Well, I'm so proud.
It's a comment, not really a question. By the way, thanks for that excellent presentation. Just in case you missed it, audience, these are former students of Bloomsbury Institute. If you don't have faith in your products, you have a problem.
Thank you.
The second point is, I know Delon, non-conformist, trained by the best. We do have student papers published in the Bloomsbury Institute's working paper series. It's online. Delon has actually published there, volume 4, issue 2/3, 2019 October, around about the same time he graduated. So now to my question, which is the slide before any questions. It's a working paper, and I'm looking forward to receiving that to be considered for publication in the Bloomsbury Institute working paper series, for which I am series editor.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
Wait, sorry.
Yeah, we need to leave it at one. Do you have any more questions? Yeah. Oh, one moment. We've got another. We've got all the mics. Yep. This one's clean.
COVID, yay.
It's kind of clean. I'm clean. Yeah. We're doing our best.
Hello. First of all, thank you everyone for the lovely welcome here. I'm completely outside of the Institute, and how I've ended up here today is a long story, but to the question. We had a little chat about it earlier on. In the schools, in their prospectuses, it's how many students we can get into Russell universities or Oxbridge and things like that. Yes, I understand we want excellence in our higher education, but aren't we sending the wrong message by saying it's Russell universities that are going to get you somewhere, it's Oxbridge that's going to get you somewhere? How do we change that narrative that other institutions can also operate on a level playing field?
Well, I mean, that's what we're trying to look at in our research, is that, as you say, Russell groups are not the be-all and end-all. You are still going to end up with a degree, but we just need to try and get these preconceived notions that only Russell group students are going to be able to do anything. We need to have these conversations, and we need to be willing to talk about the fact that they are quite gatekept by the wealthy and the advantaged classes, and we need to get it out of our head that only they can be the ones to produce good students and therefore good professionals. Again, it's a very hard thing to do. A lot of people are very stuck in their way. Universities are still seen as a very old-fashioned, academia-filled area, which of course it's academia-filled, but there's different ways of getting around it. There's different types of examinations. But as I said, not everyone is willing to hear that yet or wanting to hear that yet. So just the more conversations we can have about it openly, like in these forums, we can just hope that the change will come.
And in adding to that, it's not just because society always dictates what happens. So what universities such as Bloomsbury and the other alternative providers, it should be a bit more advertising also, and having to let students know that you can't just, if you want to be successful, you don't just have to go to Oxbridge University or Russell Group University. Is that the way you apply yourself in society, that is very important.
Hello? Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah?
So thank you so much for your presentation. I'm very proud of two of you. We belong to the same department, and we are former students too. So very proud to associate with you. My question is this, or my comment is this. Now, people talk about lower awarding qualification or whatever from BMEs. First of all, can we disabuse our mind by not using that BME appellation for us? That's the beginning of this solution. So it's like stigmatizing people, calling them BME and starting with that. So can we find proper ways of actually talking to this set of group of people and actually actualizing that? Two, now take hunger and poverty away from any man, you'll be surprised what he can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So the problem is this. We are talking about people who have social capital problem, the teacher poverty. I expect them to compete with people who have this as given unto them. I gave an example in my set in one article my head of department posted on a group chat, and I said in my set 2016, 2018, those who did very well are from my community. The first four that did very well. Now, what brought about that? Our intrinsic motivation, the way we connected with facilities and every equipment support provided, and we saw a need for us to actually make a difference. In my class, there are people from privileged backgrounds who stand nowhere near us. They stood nowhere near us. So labeling should be done away with. And that's the first point of view.
Yeah.
Let's do away with the labeling, and let's see everybody as just human race. And let everybody be given an equal opportunity.
Yeah.
For instance, I'm the second class of graduates in my family, compared to families who have the sixth generation. The social capital is there. The tract has been laid for them. They're just walking the tract.
Yeah.
And they stroll through, I would think they're better off. So I don't think anybody's better off. Take poverty away, take hunger away, then you see what everybody can do. Thank you.
Yeah.
And just to add to your point, Sam, is that the UK needs to actually catch up to times that we're living in, is that this BAME and all of these acronyms that we use to describe people, we should get rid of them, because if you look at the other European countries, such as Germany and the Netherlands, they tend not to use these acronyms to describe people. Once you're going to university, it's based on the university that you're attending rather than your ethnic group or your nationality. So I think that the UK needs to actually get rid of those and start living in the real world and catch up to continent Europe.
Hey guys, yeah, just wanted to really commend you for doing this. I actually always think that presenting your thoughts and your ideas and then being questioned on it is actually a really effective way of examining your own thoughts and then deepening them and furthering. So well done for doing this. The question I had actually was, sometimes with change and trying to bring it about, you can give all the reasons why the change should happen, but sometimes it's actually not as effective as removing the obstacles that exist that are stopping the change from happening. So have you in your paper, or are you in your paper going to be thinking about what are the obstacles that actually we should work on that will mean if that's out of the way, actually the change will just happen almost all by itself? Is that any part of what you're
Yeah,
looking
so
at?
we have actually touched on that. The paper we're actually trying to shorten down because there is a lot of research in there. But yeah, we have actually touched on that. But as I say, we only had 20 minutes and then for questions and answers. But no, thank you for bringing that up because that is definitely something that we have looked at. And hopefully when the paper is published, whoever wants to read it can see that.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.